G'day, Tragic here. This is the first video for my new channel. The inaugural episode. Oh yeah. And for those of you who don't know, I've recently started this new channel. This is just for digital board gaming, virtual tabletop stuff like Lackey, Octagon, Tabletop Simulator. And I'm moving all this to this channel and making my old channel, Tragic Tabletop, which the links will be in every description on both channels, will be links to sort of connect the two sister channels. That's where I'm going to keep all my physical playthroughs with the video cameras and the live cards and components and stuff. So I'm just separating the two because it seemed that there was a lot of different opinions about digital board gaming and stuff like that. So I thought I'd just move it to a new channel, and this is the first video of that channel, and we are going to be playing Trek Night, or as some would call it, Star Trek Frontiers, which is actually the real name, but it's basically Mage Knight in space. So let's give this a go. Now what we're going to do, let's check out the rules. We are going to play Full Conquest, and we're going to play 4 players, and we're going to play the team game. So the team rules are on page 17. Yeah, so we're going to play this team rules here. And we're basically going to do Federation versus the Klingons. So we'll get to that in a sec. But the first thing we're going to do is pick 4 players. We're going to pick a competitive, and we're doing the common scenario. And that's about that. So let's set that all up, and we're going to go Picard as player 1, then Mortok, then whatever his name is, Cisco, followed by Lursa and Bator. Sweet. So we've got them all set up, and let me just give this a shuffle. This is our initial draw order for tactic selections. Now this is basically just, Mage Knight. So it's almost identical. I'll go through the changes during the setup. We're just going to finish setting up here. We need 11 frontier tiles. I just call them sectors, and I call the other ones neutral zone, but whatever. I didn't realize they had their real names. So we need 11 frontier tiles, we need 4 city tiles, and we need 3 core tiles. So 1, 2, 3, 4 city tiles, and 1, 2, 3 normal tiles. That was definitely right, wasn't it? 3 and 4 and 11. Your blam. And 11 of these suckers. You blam. Okay, so that's our deck made. Just pull out the first set, like so. And just give them a shuffle. Okay, so we have 1 Romulan, and we have a couple of star bases. Now I'm going to go through what everything means. It's a little bit different from Mage Knight, but it's almost identical except for one big change, which is how these planets work. Because you actually physically send down away missions, and they've separated the ship. Okay, so basically in the old game, your Mage Knight was you with your hand, but in this game you basically have 2 types of damage. You have ship damage, which goes into your hand like normal in Mage Knight, and then you have unit damage, which goes on your units, and the unit damage is got a completely different type of heal points, and you can only use units when you are on away missions. You can't absorb damage through them, so you take a lot more damage, but there's a much more ways to mitigate damage. You'll see how it all works, but it's a little bit different. So, but apart from that, it's basically the same. So you've got the Romulans and the Borg spheres. They are the equivalents of the rampaging orcs and the rampaging drakes. Then you've got the Romulan starbase and the Dominion starbase. The Romulan starbase is basically the fort, and the Dominion starbase is basically the mage tower. Then you have the new stuff, which is all the class planets, and there's 2 levels. So you've got white ringed and red ringed, and they've got different rules for the different types of planets. Basically, you draw more tokens on the red wing runs. You've got research station. Now the research station's pretty obvious. They're just mines. You've got the dry dock. That is the equivalent of the magical glade. This is another H-class planet. This is basically the ruins. And then you have the M-class planet and you have the outpost. The M-class planet is the monastery and the outpost is the village. And over here we have the Borg cubes, which are obviously the cities. So let's finish doing our setup. Let's give that a quick one shuffle. You blam, you blam, you blam. Now one of the biggest differences obviously is that we're in space. So there's no day-night cycle. And that has a huge impact on this game, a massive impact. For starters, with mana usage, like for example, the dry dock never produces black mana because it is never nighttime. It only ever produces white, which is this game's version of gold. In fact, this game, if we look right now, there's only 3 colored mana in this game: blue, red, and yellow. That is it. The white is the wild card that stands for all 3 of them. And the black is unknown. Now you can get crystals, like temporary crystals of black. I don't think I've actually seen it, but most of the time you get black from rolling it on the dice. It's the 6 point on the die. Now this is pretty much only used as a number of special abilities that you can get, but it's mainly used in the same way as Mage Knight to power your spells. Or undiscovered cards, as they're called. Now, because it's nighttime all the time, there is no nighttime, I should say, you can always use black mana any turn, which means that the whole game changes. It becomes really focused on these spell cards. You cast these all the time, and they're super strong, and it really changes the feel of the game because it's not so difficult to cast these cards, and so they become a lot more important, particularly that there is no artifact deck as well. So it makes a huge change just having no day-night cycle. And there's a number of other small things that we'll get to as we go. Now, apart from that, it's pretty much the same. The actual deck we have here is the same as the day tactics deck. It's the exact same cards, so we all know how they work. And everything else is pretty much the same. You've got reputation track here, and then you've got an XP track here. Then that gives you shields for hiring people and also cards and skills. So it's almost identical to Mage Knight. It does play very differently though. The biggest changes obviously are no day-night cycle, the completely new system of the away missions, and the fact that there is now 2 types of damage: ship damage and human damage, like the damage to units. And to make that even more stark is your captain, your actual captain, is a physical person that can take damage as well, separate to the ship. So that's pretty much that. We're pretty much ready to go. All I need to do now is pick our initial tactics and set up the first turn, and then we're going to move into the next video. Now, the initial turn order is Picard, Lerson, Bator, Cisco, Motok. So let's just draw my cards. Alright, so this thing here, this is the Picard card, right? And if I'm doing an away mission, I send the captain, I need to have this card to send him, you know what I mean? And it's a little bit complicated. When we do an actual away mission, we'll get into it. Oh yeah, let's have a quick look at the other mana types, because there's only 3 mana types, these 3, plus the wild card. Then there's the black mana, which does a thing, and there's another one, this weird purple mana. You'll note that this one here takes the purple mana. This is sort of like improvisation, you know, move 3, attack 3, defend 3 or whatever. But, and you've got to discard another card with it. But there is actually a die face for this particular weird question mark somewhere. There it is, number 2. Now, this question mark can only be used on cards that take question marks, which are very, very rare. In fact, I'm fairly certain Improvise is the only one. But you can take them normally. I could, if I didn't want that black and I took this one, I am forced to roll it immediately, and then whatever it lands on, in this case yellow, I have to take that yellow. No choice. That is the one that I'm stuck with. So you can take a question mark, but you get to re-roll it if there's nothing that you particularly want. So that's a very unusual, weird spell color. I'm not quite sure if it's worth it. Okay, so 1, 2, so 4 dice plus 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 2. That is our mana pool, and that's a pretty damn good roll. Except we have 1, 2, 3 non-basics, which 4 non-basics, which means you've got to re-roll again. And now we are fine. So just like Mage Knight, when you roll the source, you have to have more than half of the dice have to be non-basic. So that is our starting mana. Lots of red, lots of yellow. And let's have a quick look at the map. So we have a Mage Tower, which I've already said is very, very strong. And we have a fort, which is still very, very strong in this game. We have a mine, a village, and we have a magical glade. Now, basically, if we look at the movement track here, nebulas, little galaxies, and asteroid fields are completely impassable. So the big X, the bottom 2. And you'll note that there's a little X next to the suns and the planets. But that doesn't mean you can't move through them. You just can't stop on them, okay? So basically, to move past this planet costs 4. Okay, so if I'm here, it's 4 to move in here, but I need to generate 6 because I need to actually land here, here, or here after I get the 4 to go in there. So same with all planets, like this planet here, I could move from here to here, but I just can't stop there, and that would cost me 3 to move past. This weird looking thing here, that is actually one of these gas cloud nebulas. That is actually the same icon. It's just the component quality is just not up to Mage Knight standards. So they don't look anything alike, but they are actually the same thing. 3 to move through, and you can land on them, and normal space is just 2. That's kind of like a forest, and you know, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's have a quick look at his hand. We've got a move 4, we've got improvise, we've got tons of diplomacy, and we've got synthesized data. So this is actually not a good hand for us. We've got tons of diplomacy, but no planets to go and use that on. So I think he is going to take fortune. And just draw 2 cards. We've got more move and attack. Okay. And Martok. No, it's Ursa and Bator is next. Oops, let's just turn on the hands. Okay, so she's got nice attack and shield. She's got an excellent +3. Okay, so she's got a fantastic hand. There's not a lot of blue in the source, if I remember. So I think what she's going to do is take, yeah, this one. And nick off, oh my god, my mouse is so sensitive. Nick off with this blue data. Cisco, what have you got for us? Okay, tons of attacks, tons of repair, diplomacy. Okay, so he has everything but move. He's got no move. Oh, he's got 1 move here. So what has he got here? He's got attack 4. Yeah, nothing. He's got a draw a card. He doesn't really have much either. Pretty bad starting hands. I think he's going to take... I think he's going to take evaluation. What am I? I'm doing Cisco, aren't I? Yeah. So he's going to take evaluation so he can get rid of 3 cards. He's going to get rid of this one, and he's going to get rid of this one, and get rid of this one. One, 2, 3. Okay. It's not much better. In fact, it could arguably be considered worse. And he's just going to take the stock standard number 4, which is probably the best card. I'm just sick of taking it every single time I play. Yablam. This is basically the draw, but planning's a little bit different in this one, as in they have to be non-damage cards. In Mage Knight, planning will activate off damage cards. Okay, so that is the order. We are now, what are we? We're 2, 3, 5, and 4. Okay. Sweet. So let's just whack all these guys together. And we are ready for our first mission in Trek Night, or Star Trek Frontiers, as some people like to call it, because it's the actual name. Okay, well, I'll see you guys next time.